Somehow, some way, I am still awake. Hi there, everybody. Carson Meredith with you on this Sunday night. 7/17, it is October 19th, and I hope you've had a good Sunday, even if it was a little dreary for a good chunk of it. But as you see behind me, we've been treated to a beautiful sunset, and that's setting the stage for a beautiful Monday. Yeah, it's Monday. Nobody likes Mondays, but the weather tomorrow is going to be very, very nice. So we have that feather in our cap to talk about tomorrow. And all in all, the work week ahead is pretty quiet. We do have a front moving in on Tuesday. We'll spend some time talking about the wind that comes with that. But the big story is going to be the cooler temperatures that you have obviously already felt tonight and today, and you'll continue to feel for much of the extended, it appears. And then, of course, we got to talk about the extended, too, because it's looking interesting now. So, a lot to talk about tonight. Let's jump right in. That's a live view of the camera that's in behind me in the background. Jeffersonville, looking across the Ohio to downtown. And as expected, those clouds are moving on out quick, as is the rain, and the wind is relaxing. The peak gust that I saw today in Louisville was around 35, I believe, during the day today. Last night, when the cold front or the storms ahead of the cold front were moving through, we had a gust around 41, I believe. And today, during the day, the peak gust was 35. So slightly below wind advisory criteria today, but still blustery. But that wind is relaxing as we speak. Clouds are moving out. The rain is gone. And this is what we're left with as we close out this weekend. 56 our current temperature. Yeah, it definitely feels cool. It definitely feels cool. You note that wind, we don't have gust at this point, but we still have a decent steady breeze around 10 to 15 miles per hour. And that's going to be with us for most of the night, which should help to limit any frost concerns tonight. But part of the storyline with this cool week ahead that we have is also going to be the potential for frost, especially by the end of the week. When you look at temperatures across the board, you do notice further to the east, for our friends up in North Vernon, Madison, LaGrange, Shelbyville, out towards the Bluegrass, out towards Lexington and Richmond, you're a little bit cooler. And the reason why is because those clouds are holding on a little bit longer further to the east, and we've had a few showers hold on a little bit longer further to the east. But most of us are in the 50s. The lone exception is Shelbyville, down to 48 already. And we're all dropping into the 40s for the most part overnight tonight. Compared to this time last night, yeah, it is a huge shock to the system. 24 hours ago, we were 24 degrees colder here in Louisville, or 24 degrees warmer, I should say. So let's see, 56 plus 24, that's 80. So it was 80 degrees this time last night here in the city. Now it is 56. And again, this cooler air is here to stay, it appears, as we head into really the rest of October, it looks like. The surface map, the radar, and the fronts and all that good stuff. You can see the back edge of the rain shield is about to move out of Cincinnati, move out of Pikeville. There were a few showers that developed, though, this afternoon right over us. And I saw several of your imping reports saying you saw tiny little hailstones. And you're like, wait, what? There wasn't supposed to be any severe weather this afternoon. And there wasn't. But when you have such cold air above our heads in this kind of setup, it's very common actually to get tiny little pea-sized hailstones. I know several of you sent reports on the MPing app, which is a free app that you can send in your weather reports, and we get that information. The Weather Service gets that information. It's very useful. And I see some of you in the comments said, hey, I saw tiny little hailstones with some of these showers this afternoon. So not unheard of in this kind of setup. But those showers have faded away. The big rain shield, as you can see, has pushed east into Ohio and the Virginias and Pennsylvania. And that's leaving us all quiet and calm and dry as we go through tonight. 44 is our forecast low temperature here in Louisville this evening. Most of you will be in the low 40s tonight. By low 40s, I mean 40, 41, 42. If you live way out in the country, I can't rule out 39, maybe even 38. But what's going to keep us from really getting that cold is that breeze we talked about. It's going to stay with us through the night around 10, maybe 15 miles per hour. And that's just enough to keep the atmosphere mixed up. When you get these cold nights, especially in October, the air has to be really still. There can't be much of a wind. And the skies have to be clear. We'll have that tonight. We'll have the clear skies, but we won't have the stillness in the air. We'll still have that wind with us. So bottom line, it is going to be chilly when you wake up tomorrow morning. So make sure you have the heavier jackets with you. And if you haven't turned on your furnace yet so far this fall, you may want to at least debate it this week. Let's start off with the first half of the work week, okay? Tomorrow looks phenomenal. Just gorgeous day tomorrow. 68, bright blue skies, tons of sunshine. You cannot ask for better in late October. A very seasonable day tomorrow. Our average high is 69 degrees. We'll be very close to that tomorrow at 68. We'll also be close to that mark on Tuesday. But the catch with Tuesday is we do have a cold front moving through on Tuesday. And while it's not going to bring us a ton of rain, if any, it is going to ramp up the wind again. Very similar to what we had this weekend. So if you're looking for days this week that are they're okay, but not the best, Tuesday's probably fitting that category well. The colder air with that front, with Tuesday's front, really doesn't move in until Wednesday. And Wednesday's the coldest day this week, where a lot of you guys that are hearing my voice tonight will be in the 50s for high temperatures on Wednesday. Here in Louisville with the heat island, y'all know the drill. I got to go with the high of 60, but I think a lot of you on Wednesday will be in the upper 50s. Woo! Get a little chilly quick. So here's Tuesday's front. I went ahead and made a futurecast map here just to kind of show you guys that there's not a ton with this front. Now, you do see some moisture closer to the low, right out ahead of the front, especially up into Ohio, Michigan, and Ontario. Shout out Canada. But as the front itself is moving through early in the day, there's not going to be a ton of moisture with it down here. What we might have to keep an eye on later in the afternoon on Tuesday is as the low pressure, you see that low at the tippy top of the map up over Michigan? That low may get close enough to where we get into that cyclonic flow, that counterclockwise flow around the low pressure, where we may have a couple of showers sneak into our southern Indiana county. So, Adam, I'm talking to you up in Bloomington. So if you're up near Bedford, Bloomington, Seymour, North Vernon, we're going to keep a 10% shower chance in for you guys as this low up in Michigan tries to kind of skirt our far northern counties in Indiana on Tuesday. Everybody else is looking dry, I'd say. That can still change, but this cold front does not have a ton of moisture with it, but a few showers can't be ruled out, especially in our southern Indiana counties on Tuesday with this system. Now, that low pressure up in the Great Lakes is going to meander up in the Great Lakes into Wednesday. And that's really the big reason why Wednesday is going to be so chilly. We've got that northwest flow keeping us in the 50s. Some clouds will be overhead. It'll be a breezy day. So that's why Wednesday's the coldest day, it appears, at this point. Most in the 50s. Here in Louisville, we might be around 60. So that's really the big show, if you will, this week, is that front on Tuesday and that low pressure that might give us a little bit of a shower chance with it. Now, the main focus with that front isn't necessarily going to be the rain. It's going to be the wind, in addition to the cold. So as we go into Tuesday afternoon, we're going to have those gusts across the board around 20 miles an hour. And they will be at their highest once again Tuesday afternoon, where we could see those gusts like today, closer to 30, maybe 35 miles per hour. A lot of you probably going to ask, is Tuesday going to be an alert day since today was? Well, the big difference with Tuesday's setup compared to today is, one, the temperature change is not as dramatic. It's already kind of cool. We're not going from 84 to 54. And two, there's not a severe weather component. So if these wind gusts just stay in that 30 to 35 mile an hour range like they are now, Tuesday will probably be a non-alert day. No red, just green. But still, it's going to be very breezy. It's going to be windy. So make sure the Halloween decor is still anchored down on Tuesday. Make sure your trash cans don't go flying down the street, all that good stuff. We get into Tuesday night. It's still breezy with that low kind of being trapped in that flow from the low up towards Michigan. It'll be a cool breeze, but it won't be quite as blustery as we head into Tuesday night. Now, once that low moves far enough away to where it's not an influence for us, we'll see the air settle down just a little bit each night, and that's where frost is going to come into play. Thursday morning and Friday morning. If you do not live in Louisville, you will likely see some frost. Some of you for the first time this year, some of you maybe the second time. I think there was one morning in early October that had a little frost in a few spots, but this looks to be the first widespread frost of the season. It's Thursday morning. Not in Louisville. Let's make that clear. In Jefferson County, I really don't think we'll see much frost at all. The low at the airport will be around 42. The colder suburbs like Middletown may get to 40 or 39. But if you live outside of Jefferson County, generally speaking, frost is becoming more likely as we head into Thursday morning with those lows across the board in that 36, 37 degree range. So start thinking now about, what plants you got to protect and cover up, which ones you might have to just let go for the season and things like that. So our first frost potential is Thursday morning. By that point, the low pressure is going to be far enough away from us to where the wind will relax and we'll have a mostly clear sky that would allow for that frost to develop potentially. Friday morning, however, especially in southern Indiana, also carries a frost potential. Maybe even colder in a few spots. You see Bedford, Paoli, Salem, Seymour, you guys maybe closer to 35 or 36. Just outside of our area, up towards I-70 in Indianapolis, Muncie, Indiana, Dayton, they may see a light freeze even Friday morning. So there's a very good chance we'll have our first frost advisories of this fall season for Thursday morning and possibly into Friday morning as well. So keep that in mind, especially if you have a green thumb and you want to keep some of these plants around a little longer into the season. Those look to be the two coldest mornings that we have for the work week ahead. Now, it's not unheard of to be a little behind schedule when it comes to frost, especially in Louisville. That's normal. But as we mentioned, there hasn't been many opportunities for frost so far. I think just that one that I mentioned a couple weeks ago. A lot of you should have already seen your first frost by now, especially if you live up towards Seymour and Bedford, Jasper, Paoli, Hardinsburg. See that lighter blue color that I'm circling? You guys would have seen your first frost on average, in late September, early October. So basically, a lot of you outside of Louisville are kind of behind on seeing your first frost. Of course, right here in the heat island itself, it always takes forever to see that frost. It's usually not until we get closer to Halloween. So just kind of wanted to throw that nugget in there. Are we a little behind with frost? Yes, but it is what it is. All right, let's talk about next weekend. I know I haven't gotten to the comments yet, but I just kind of want to blitz through everything, and then we'll get to the 10-day and we can answer questions. So next weekend, oh boy, here we go again. Cut off low pressure, it appears. Just kind of riding off the Rockies. And we got to figure out where exactly it wants to go. Earlier this weekend, it was trying to keep that low maybe closer to the Ohio River. The latest trends I've seen keep that low kind of along I-40. If that were to be the case, then we're just going to kind of have some smatterings of showers starting Friday evening, going into the day on Saturday, and depending on the speed of the low, possibly going into Sunday. Now, there's still been a lot of back and forth with exactly where this low even wants to go and how fast it wants to go. So that's not set in stone just yet, but just know we are watching next weekend, not for severe weather, not for gusty winds, nothing like that, but at least for that chance for a few showers to come back into play by then. That's to be our next decent rain chance, as you see on the 10-day. And you also notice on the 10-day, in the extended outlook towards the end of October, it looks pretty busy. Tuesday, October 28th, in particular, has my attention for that big cold front that Brian's been talking to you guys a lot about on Storm Talk. The GFS and the Euro are kind of locking in on that 27th, 28th window for this fairly strong cold front to roll through. It's too early to talk about severe weather or anything like that, but there at least seems some sort of agreement that the early parts of Halloween week could be rocky. So stay tuned on that. But once we get into this upcoming weekend, the pattern certainly looks to get more active and more unsettled, not just for the end of October, but maybe the first week of November as well. So busy, 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 busy times ahead. Busy does not mean severe. It just means it's a little unsettled, which isn't all that unheard of this time of year. So there we go. That's where we are, guys. I don't want to keep y'all here too long tonight. Candidly, I'm a little tired. I hope you can understand. But yeah, much of the work week is fine. We'll watch that small rain chance on Tuesday. Really, I think the big long-term focus is going to be how does that low shape up for next weekend? What kind of rain chances does it give us? And then, of course, that front on Halloween week. When exactly will that front roll through, and what type of concerns might we have with it? So a lot to unpack on the back side of the 10-day, but the front side of the 10-day looks pretty good, if you ask me. All right. Who's here tonight? Blue's here, as always. Jacob, hello on this Burr-tober. Yeah, definitely that fall chill. You had that fall feel last week. Now you got that fall chill that's here this week, it looks like. Anita, hello. Yeah, finally feeling like fall. Albert's here. Braden's here. Shout out to Wavy. Wavy's always working, but he's enjoying a little more rest tonight because it's not as active, right? ZK's here. Kelly's here. I appreciate the well wishes, Kelly. I got not solid, but I got a very broken 2 hours of some sleep last night. I stayed up until about 2 watching those storms come in. They were weakening, so I was like, okay, I can take a nap. I tried, but every 15 minutes I kept looking at radar. So I'll sleep well tonight. That is for sure. I hope. Ann's here. Hello. Gary, hello from Pewee Valley. What a difference. 30-degree temp drop And sunsets before 7 p.m. Good reminder, Gary. Thank you. You probably saw it on the Wave Weather Facebook page or the Twitter page earlier. Tonight was our first night with sunsets before 7 p.m. for the season. And we will not see sunsets after 7 p.m. again until the clocks spring forward in March of 2026. So these days just keep on getting shorter. And by the way, we fall back an hour in 2 weeks, November 2nd. We get 3 hours sleep. That's also when the time falls back and the sunsets are at like 5:30. So that'll be up upon us soon. Linda is a big fan of these cooler temps. Good deal. Karen talking about some of those tiny little hailstones we had with those showers this afternoon. Not unheard of in that kind of a setup. No doubt about that, but it does kind of shock you at first, right? Let's see. Michael, yeah, sure was a big temperature drop. No doubt about it. Sean says, hey, from Taylorsville. Let's see. There's Adam. 1.13 in the rain gauge last 24 hours. Sounds about right. Here in Louisville, the number I think was 0.62. So a lot of us, as expected, saw around a ½ inch to 1 inch of rain this weekend. Let's see. Weather Geek, good thing I ordered more tea for the cooler days. Indeed. Indeed, indeed. Kelly, it's chilly in North Vernon. The sinuses are struggling. Yeah. Now that we've got the chill that's actually going to stick, some of you guys might have more of those sinus troubles. I know Angela was talking about maybe some pressure issues with migraines and things like that. So that could definitely be an issue this week, especially as we start to get more acclimated to these cooler temperatures. But the ragweed's getting better. So that's the trade-off, right? Let's see. Brandon, hello. Very nice tie. Thank you. I like this one. It's one of my newer ones in my collection of 105. I don't wear all 105 of them on TV. There's some I can't because they're green. But yeah. Am I ready for basketball? You bet I am. I can't wait. By the way, if you're a fan of the NBA returns to Wave and NBC this week. So there you go. Tuesday night, I think it is. Bradley, what's up, man? What's the end of October looking like around Halloween? Well, it really depends on that front that you see at the end of the 10-day. Right now, that front looks like it's going to move through in the 27th, 28th time frame. Now, that can mean a couple of things. One, that can mean that we get nice quiet weather for Halloween weekend, which would be a shock. Or it can mean we get into that northwest flow kind of setup again, where it's just cold and damp and dreary. It's just too early to say. So it really depends on that front and when it decides to move through. And how amplified it is, too, as to whether or not we stay cold and damp or if we dry out. So stay tuned on that. It's going to get busy for sure as we get closer to Halloween. A few more questions and comments, and we'll wrap it up, guys. I don't want to keep you all here all night. ZK says the heaters are already on. Kelly, are we done with Mother Nature's heat? Well, you can never rule out, especially in early. I've seen low 80s as early, or as late rather, as early November, like around election time. So that's possible, yes, in theory, but I don't see many signals of that anytime soon. Are we done with mid 80s? Yes, I can say that with a decent level of confidence. Good question. Does the heat island affect all of Jefferson County, or is it just downtown and surrounding areas? Well, I'll kind of use myself as an example. I live out in eastern Jefferson County, about 25 minutes from downtown. When I get in my car in the mornings, when it's the middle of the night, it would be, I don't know, 52, for example. And when I get to the parking lot here at the station in downtown, right by the hospitals, it's 56, 57, 58. So usually it's really just focused on that corridor of the city from like downtown to the airport to maybe the truck plant, or not the truck plant, LAP, the Louisville Ford Assembly Plant on Fern Valley Road. Kind of in that corridor. Inside the Watterson always gets that heat island effect. So like Churchill Downs, the Highlands to a degree. St. Matthews also to a degree kind of has that heat island effect. But once you really get away from the airport and you get away from the Watterson, that's when the heat island effect becomes a little less noticeable. But you guys know the official measurements come from the airport, and the airport is right next to the Watterson. So that's why our numbers here in Louisville are always a little bit skewed compared to everybody else. Hopefully that made sense. Good question. Let's see. Jocelyn, good question on YouTube. Is hurricane season over yet? It is not. Did I update that map? I don't know if I did yet or not. Hang on a second, Jocelyn. Let me see if I can pop up that graphic. I don't think I've gotten around to updating it yet, but I can still show you what might be happening out there, because there is a system we're watching. There it is. Ignore the... hang on. Yeah, let me update those numbers because that is not up to date. This is one wave right off the South American coast that the Hurricane Center is watching, and it's got decent chance of development now. 30% in the next 2 days, 70% over the next week. Melissa is the next name on the list. And there's still some uncertainty as to where soon-to-be Melissa is going to go. I'll be honest with you, I haven't had a ton of time to look at it because we've had all the rain and wind this weekend, but it's still something we'll keep an eye on. Hurricane season not done until Thanksgiving weekend, not until the end of November, November 30th. So we got a while, but you're right. It's been very quiet, at least when you're talking about U.S. impacts. And it's been a little tiny bit quieter than expected up to this point. But we can still have trouble into late October and November, no doubt. Let's see here. All right. Here's a question from Prelude on Facebook. Killing frost to end the growing season. Is that what we're looking at Thursday and Friday? It's possible, yes. I don't see a hard freeze necessarily Thursday and Friday, but I do think this frost could be a killer in some spots. And obviously, depending on the various plants or crops or whatever you might have. So it'll be very dependent this week. And I don't think it'll be everywhere. Louisville's not going to see frost this week. So it'll be very dependent on where you are, what kind of plants you have, how sensitive they are, crops, vegetation, things of that nature. I don't want to say it's going to be a sweeping killing frost just yet. But we'll watch the trends, of course, in the days ahead. Good question. Let's see. All right. I think we're good, guys. So that's all I got. Again, nice day tomorrow. A little cool, but lots of sun. Tuesday, a bit windy with that cold front moving through. And then Wednesday, it gets cold. It definitely gets cold Wednesday. We'll watch that frost potential Thursday and Friday mornings. And then we'll focus on the weekend and beyond for the rest of October, because once we get to next weekend, it looks like it's going to get active, and it's going to stay active for the rest of the month and maybe into November as well. That's all I got, guys. We got Sunday Night Football. Y'all know the drill. Falcons 49ers tonight. See how that goes. If you're still awake once that game is over, we invite you to at least catch the first little bit of news and weather on Wave News. Should be on hopefully around 11:45. If not, if you got to go to sleep for work or school, rest easy. Hope you have a great week. And Brian will be here tomorrow with Storm Talk. Might be the good weather blog tomorrow since there's not many storms to talk about. And the rest of the crew will be here all week, and I will catch you guys next weekend. Take care.